So look, we've talked about self-fulfilling prophecies. We've talked about what that is. Now let's get into this concept called micro-behaviors. So, we talked about subcommunication. And that's like those really subtle things. So for example, we talk about eye contact. We talk about body language. Now when you're thinking about subcommunication, a lot of it is very obvious. A lot of you guys here can point out the most basic ideas behind subcommunication. But even beyond that, we can even go, like, take a microscope and go even more deeply in when we're looking at the little micro behaviors that you have. Alright? And these are like, you know, these are just extremely, extremely subtle, okay? So an example of something like, you know, a micro behavior would be like the dilation in your pupils, all right? Has anybody here ever been talking to a girl and you're very much in state, the nimbus is burning, and then suddenly she hits you with something and suddenly you just lose state, and you can almost see that she can see in your eyes that you lost state, and she just goes, "You're done." Yes. You guys ever had that?
Yes.
I've had girls say that to me before. Like when I lost state, she just goes, "You're done." And I'm like, "Yeah, nice to meet you." Later. Okay? You guys, okay? All right? I've experienced that. And that's like, now look, I also had a guy who then, because Ozzy, who teaches the boot camps in London, he's also kind of mad at me for teaching this, because he had a guy in boot camp who's like, this guy was from South America, he's like, "Ozzy," he's like, "have you been checking my pupils, like Tyler said?" All right? And Ozzy's like, "You bastard, stop teaching that shit." All right? Because I don't want to make you guys paranoid, like, "Are my pupils dilated?" All right? Okay? I'm not saying to start thinking like that. Good God. All right? If you would just start thinking like that, that would be utterly ridiculous. I'm not promoting that. But what I'm saying is that as this idea of like a micro behavior, when you can look a girl right in the eyes and your eyes hold steady, it shows that you're not running through images in your mind. All right? Going back into your head. That's an example of a micro behavior. Now look, you cannot consciously manipulate all these, can you? Look, subcommunication you could probably consciously manipulate. You could be like, okay, step 1, have good eye contact. Step 2, loose body language. Step 3, nice resonating voice, right? Step 4, lead. You can do all of that stuff. Really, I mean, you know, if you just read it over like a couple times, you can go out and you can do it. And in fact, I recommend as a newbie, you've got to do that. But you know, again, we're talking on an advanced level here. Like if we want to go to an advanced level, the little micro behaviors that you have, you can never consciously understand all of them. Like, I bet that a lot of you guys were hoping that I was going to start writing out a list of the micro behaviors, right? Like, micro behavior this, manipulate this in yourself, you know, change this in yourself. But that's not what it is. Like, all these little micro behaviors that you have, you can never totally understand all of them. And you don't need to understand all of them. And in fact, there is no use, practical or probably even scientific, for understanding all of them. It's just completely not a useful piece of knowledge. But look, when you're speaking to the girl, there are those little micro behaviors, little subtle things like if she moves over here, are you kind of a little too eager to go over there, or are you kind of just chill, right? And it stems, where does all this stuff flow from?
Your state.
Your state. It flows from within. All right? And when you are flowing, this handles all of that for you. And that's why you see the attraction happening quickly. This industry, from an outsider's perspective, if you were to look at the success with women industry, would you not agree that it has the word scam written all over it? You guys ever seen penis pills? Is there not a lot in common with this industry and penis pills? Right? Think about it. Like from an outsider's perspective, looking in, it's like, okay, so you're telling me that you're going to take some like out of shape, not good looking, nerdy guy, and you're going to like, as is claimed, you're going to teach him how to date like supermodels and shit. Sure. What does that look like? How could that possibly sound real? Right? It sounds bizarre.
It's like a magic pill mentality.
Magic pill mentality. You know what it looks like? You ever see those ab flex commercials? Right? Ab machine commercials? Where it's like, you're going to lose 30 pounds in a month. And it's like some guy who's like really overweight, but he's going to have like flabby arms, flabby legs, but he's going to have like washboard abs among that. Right? Like, and you know, that's the kind of magic pill stuff that gets peddled in the market these days. Right? And so from an outside, it looks almost bizarre. So it's like, how is it that some of the guys you've seen, because some of the, like for example, some of the instructors with RSD are like 5'4". You guys know Christoph?
Yeah.
Right? How tall?
Yeah, about
5'4", right? Okay. With the shoes, he's like 5'5". All right. Okay. And how smooth?
awesome.
How awesome?
Really awesome.
Really awesome, right? Okay. How about Hoobie? You guys saw Hoobie on Transformations? How tall is he? 3'7", right? Okay. And so it's like, from an outsider's perspective, how could that guy be successful? It's just too weird, right? It's too much. So we say, how is it that these guys are doing this? Like, what is causing it to do this? Well, again, there is that kind of like, scientific basis behind it, right? The whole value thing, and when you feel good about yourself inside, it reflects all these other positive things about you, and that's how it works, all right? So the thing is, all these like insane success stories, like look, when you're out on a workshop and you see your instructor who seems very similar to you, and he's able to go up to women and just spark this incredible attraction or get a makeout really quickly, and you're seeing that going on, and it's like, well, how's he doing this? Does he have some kind of ability that I don't have? Is he cut from a different cloth than you? That's what's going to start going through your head, especially when you're seeing a guy who's having whether it's an instructor or whoever it is, you're seeing a guy having a really on night. The feeling is, this guy's cut from a different cloth than me. That's how you'll feel. Why is that happening? It's all those unconscious little micro behaviors that are creating the attraction in the woman. You don't need to understand them. You don't need to know how to manipulate them in yourself. That's completely useless. All that you need to know is what? How to flow. All right?
Be congruent.
Congruence.
It's magic.
It is magic, man. All right, so how about this? You pull a girl over to you. Here's a great one. Let's say that you pull a girl over to you. Let's say that a girl's walking by. Okay, hop up for me. We showed this before. Let's say that a girl is walking by, just walk by, and you go, hey, who are you? Like that, okay? Okay, now have a seat. What will happen if even for 1 second you doubt yourself? What's she going to say?
She won't respond. Or she'll be like, whoa.
She'll be like, whoa, what are you doing? Like, get off, whoa, right? Has anyone here ever done that with a full level of belief? Yeah. Then what happens?
She giggles.
She goes like this. Like that, right? In fact, it's almost so addictive that I remember at one point I even started going like I'd pull the girl over, I'd talk to her for a second, and then I'd take a step back and I'd go like that, and then I'd take a step back and go like that, take a step back and go like that, and I'd do it about every 40 seconds because it was so funny, because every time you pull her over she's like like that, right? Like you can see it, like you're talking, she's like and then you pull her like that, right? And then, because, and it comes from that full belief, all right? When a woman feels a man that has full belief in what he's doing, that's very attractive. The thing is, not for newbies. Don't try this at home. Professionals only, because if you do that, you could get it, you will get slapped, all right? You will get people pissed, and, maybe even bigger problems than that. But that's an amazing thing. How about when you ask for a phone number? Have you ever been talking to a girl and, you're speaking with her and then it's going really well and you think, maybe I should get the phone number, and then you doubt yourself as you go to get it, right?
Yes.
What happens? She just doesn't do it, right? And it's funny, you can see the woman's response. She's totally into you, she's having fun, and then you're like, should I ask for the phone number? Could I get your phone number? And she's like, no. No, right? She just says no. And she doesn't even know why she said no. Like if you ask her, why did you say no? She doesn't know why. She's like, I don't know, I didn't want to, right? Because that's her instinct. It's like if you say, hey, here, let's go to this restaurant, right? Like say like the club is ending, it's like 2 a.m., club is shutting down, if you're on the West Coast, 2 a.m., East Coast, 5 a.m., all right? So you say, hey, let's get out of here. If you're like, so do you want to go to this place? And you're doubting yourself, again, she'll probably say no. How about this? You know a great one? Let's say you're going to IHOP. IHOP! We're going to IHOP! Let's go, right? And it's even like, here, this guy's just getting abused this weekend. All right, okay. All right, so look, and it's almost like this. Like you can even, it's like, let's go. Like that. Do you guys see that? Watch this, okay? Watch this again, okay? All right, look, okay, he's being abused. This is a cool man right here, okay? All right, okay? Now look, okay? Thank you, okay? Because he got showed in the camera. All right, okay, so look. It's the same kind of thing. Here, come on, let's go. Let's go. Good, boom. Isn't it sexy? All right. How about this, okay? Same kind of thing. Hey, let's go. Okay? same kind of thing, all right? Have a seat. Okay, thanks for getting showed again. So, okay, thank you. All right. So basically, I should get you because you got on transformations by Tim. All right, so basically, when you have that kind of belief, again, it's just going to happen. And that kind of belief, that kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, that kind of those anticipated responses are what make you really, really, really good at this. All right? It's that level of belief. It has to go from point A to point B. When you go to open, it's the same kind of thing, right? Look, say that you're going to ask a girl for her opinion, as an example. You walk by, hey, I need an opinion, right? What are you doing? You're fully assuming that she's going to answer your question. You're fully assuming it. If it's like, could I have it? She's like, no. All right? Look, it doesn't mean the girls are always going to say no when you don't have full belief. Sometimes they say yes. And sometimes when you have full belief, they say no. All right? There's no 100% system. We're talking like in that sort of 75% range of what tends to be the case. Anyway, this has to go from the open all the way out to the close. But look, let's get even freakier. All right? Let's get even weirder. You guys want to talk weird? Yeah! All right, okay. Let's say that you, okay, as a boot camp instructor, I do this all the time. I'll say to a guy, look, tell her this story, just an example. Tell her this story. And he'll go up and he'll be like, oh, blah, 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 and he doesn't believe in it, right? And then I go, I'll say it right in front of him, he goes, no, dude, hold up. All right. And then I'll start telling the identical story that he just told. Identical. He just told it. All right? And this, I'm not even talking like the girl knows that, no, let me tell it. Like, I'm not even talking like that, because that would make sense, right? I'm talking like I'll start telling the story as if I think that he didn't just tell it, completely ignoring how weird that is. All right? And I'll tell it, and right where I expect the people to laugh, they laugh. Right where I expect the people to go, they go, right? Everything that I'm anticipating, they'll do. In fact, when you're telling the story, okay, you go up and you tell the funny part, and you're like, that is so funny, right? And you have that vibe. Like, you can do that to a girl. On the spots on the story that you want her to laugh, you can make her laugh just by believing that she's going to laugh. Has anyone here ever noticed that? Yeah. You can make her laugh at the spots that you believe it. It's just like, it's like this vibe. It's just like, like, you just look at her, and so for example, it's like, isn't that crazy? And she's like, ha, 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 right? And just immediately starts laughing. It's that same anticipated response, okay? So you can tell the exact same story, and the girls will act as if they're hearing it for the first time. Why? Because you're expecting them to act as if they're hearing it for the first time. How do you do that? If you go into your mind and you're like, whoa, dude, this is so weird that I'm telling the same story that I just told a second ago. If you do that in your head, then what are the girls going to say?
It's weird.
He just said that. Why are you saying that again? But if in your mind, remember how we talked about being in the moment? Well, this is why being in the moment is one of the most foundational pieces of being a master at this, like reaching that like extreme Jedi level. Because basically you just go into the moment, you're like, I'm in the moment now, so I'm not thinking. But you're not even thinking that, you just understand it. All right? And then you just start spitting the story. And it works. Now let's get even kind of weirder than that. What if the girls are on the dance floor? The girls are all dancing on the dance floor in some big mosh pit. What do most guys try and do when they approach a girl on the dance floor?
Grind.
Try to grind, okay? Okay, like that. All right, some guys do it really well, some guys don't. Ozzy, if any of you guys have ever been out with Ozzy, he does it amazingly well. It is incredible. But most guys will do that ineffectively because they're like hoping for her to dance with them. One thing that I realized was that you can actually go up right when they're on the dance floor, walk up, just stroll on over, not even dancing, tap, tap, ask a question about something, whatever, and just talk as if it's not a dance floor. How interesting is that? Like, you can talk as if it's not a dance floor, and and you'll see it. They're like, do. Like that, right? And they start talking. They literally just start talking. In fact, if you're concerned that it's too loud, like say it's too loud on the dance floor, well then obviously she'll be like, oh, it's too loud, right? But if you just block that out of your head and you just start, you're just like no, like let's get even kind of more advanced and more weird here. If you're just like, blah, 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 and you can't even hear yourself talking, right? You just talk. what she'll immediately do is go, what? What? Like that. And she'll start trying to hear you, even though that's unusual. Okay? So basically, what are you doing here? You're creating this like very bizarre self-fulfilling prophecy.
So you really don't need this match or higher energy level anymore.
Okay. Do you guys hear what he just said there? He says you don't necessarily need to match your energy level. It depends. Really great question there. Okay, and again, these are like the advanced sort of esoteric concepts of picking up girls. One concept in terms of pickup is you want to be on, say that the group has a certain energy level, and you want to either match it or go a little bit above it. Why do we do that?
Because they want to go towards higher energy.
Yeah, they want more value offered rather than less.
Yeah.
Let's get into kind of like a funny one there. And again, these are like the really, you don't need to know this stuff to be successful with women at all. You can be massively successful without it, but we're just going advanced here for the people that want to go advanced. So look, when you have the full nimbus, right, like you are really, really centered and your reality is just on, all right, you're really in the moment, really on, you could just walk up and they're all like, right, you know when girls are just going nuts? Yeah. And when you're really on, you could just kind of walk up and just be like, you know, hey, right? And if they're like, and you're just like, and you just keep moving forward, and you'll immediately see it. They're like, hey, like that. You can see it. Like, you can immediately calm them down. You can also go, hey. Like that. So, it's okay, right? And they calm down. Other times, though, if you're not that on, then what you can do is you can go in at a little bit higher energy level, and then you can ease it down. How do you do that? You guys, if you've seen on the Jeffy Show, match the rhythm, right? Match it, and then lead the rhythm, right? So you go up, you know, at their energy level a little bit higher, and then you can ease it down. Almost like an airplane pilot, you can up the energy level or you can ease the energy level back down, okay? You can do both. However, when you're really on, like I said, you can just walk up at whatever energy level you want and people will start to match you. Kind of fascinating stuff. This is sort of the kind of stuff that has kept me going out all these years, why I'm still so fascinated with this stuff, because it's such a hobby for me. Oh my God, here's the last one. Oh my God. This is such an ego trip, it's not even funny. This is such a power trip. And you can start to feel like some kind of superhero when you know how to do this. What's funny, say that you see a couple guys talking to a group of girls. Okay, a lot of the time it's their friends, right? That's cool. But a lot of the times it's just players trying to pick them up. Yeah. If you just sort of walk up, I've had times where like, I've seen you can just walk up, and when you're really on, and I'm talking on, you just walk right up like this. Notice how I'm looking straight. Do you guys see what I'm doing here? Yeah. Do you guys see that? I'm not like this, right? I'm not like, okay, here's these guys that I have to engage, well, like that, right? I'm literally, it's like Moses parting the Red Seas, right? Okay? It's just like, it's like this, when you're on, right? And then you just go like that to the guys, and you'll see the two guys like that, right? Like they're like that, and you'll see it, okay? You'll see that kind of thing. You just sort of, because you're on, look, this doesn't happen from a stop point, right? You have to have momentum. I'm talking when you have like an insane amount of momentum. Don't come on my boot camp and we're just kind of sitting at a table and go, hey Tyler, let's see you part the Red Seas. All right? I'm like, ugh, right? I'm talking when you're on, okay? You can't be thinking about it. You cannot be thinking about like, I remember that program that I saw where I did this. I'm talking when you're on and you're like, yeah, right? You're on. And you walk over, hey, like this, okay? Do you guys see what I'm doing here? Yeah. You're on. And people just go like that. Have you guys ever not been at the gym walking towards the water fountain after an intense set and people jump out of your way?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because you're more right? You're sitting there. You're racking more weights on the bench press. Maybe you just hit some new weight or new rep range, right? You're like, whoa, whew, right? You're going to get some water, getting some water like this, and then the person's like that, right? And you're like, whoa, sorry, I was just in the zone. I apologize. Here, it's okay. Take your water, dude. Right? Everyone here, or at least a few people in here have had that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, stronger reality. It's the exact same thing, right? I can remember, and I've even seen situations, if you want to talk real advanced, and again, don't come to my boot camp and say, let's see you do that part of the Red Seas. Okay, don't ask me that, all right? Okay? Because, when I talk about this kind of stuff, instructors hate me. The instructors call me up bitching at me because they're like, I had an amazing night, but the student just wouldn't shut up about that Red Seas thing. All right, okay? So the thing is, like, all right, if it happens, it happens. These are the moments of glory that happen once a week, once a month, that kind of thing, okay? It's not something that you can do reliably. But I just want you guys to recognize the phenomenon and what's at work here. When you're really on, like I remember one night, I see one girl surrounded by 10 guys, okay? And I was just totally on. What does totally on mean? I'm not going, I'm on. All right? I'm not like, I think I'm in state. If you're saying, I think I'm in state, what are you doing?
You're not in state.
You're not in state, right? Okay? I just on. I didn't think about it. I just did it. I walked up, and I walked through the group. I was looking right at the girl, and a group of about 8, 10 guys just disperse. Okay? I walk up. Now, as that happens, what happens with the reticular activation system? Where am I in those guys' reticular activation system? Boom. Right? All on. So, I go like this. Now, as I walk through and the guys jump apart, is the girl seeing the guys reacting to me?
Yeah.
Or is she seeing that all the reticular activation is lighting up? So what's happening to her? It's like insane attraction. And I just walk up and I just put my hands out. Like that, okay? I'm like, you are such a pimp. You've got 10 guys here with you. That's very interesting. Right? See what I'm doing here? Okay? And you'll see it. She's like, okay? You'll see that same kind of thing. All right? Same kind of thing. It's glorious. All right? And it can make you start to think you're like a superhero when you do this kind of thing, right? Do you want to know the problem with that, though? You'll go home that night and you're like, I am the man. I dominated. I'm the shit, right? And then the next day, you're like, God, I'm fucking glorious. God damn, right? And then you go out that night and you're like, am I still glorious? Right? Okay? And then you're like, I'm gonna part the Red Seas again, right? And you see those guys, right? And you're like, yeah, let's part the Red Seas, right? And you're like, they're not moving. They're not moving. You're like, you're such a pimp. She's like, thanks, right? Why didn't it work? Why didn't it work? All right, so it comes down to being I'm going to talk about that effect later today. So to help you get more consistency. But look, these are the kinds of not predictable. Okay, you cannot make them happen, but you can sometimes on a night of total glory allow them to happen. That tells you a lot about self-fulfilling prophecies and especially about anticipated responses. So again, that same anticipated response that almost all of you here have had at a gym at a water fountain, you can create those when you're at a very, very advanced level at this sort of thing. All right, so here's the next one. Flinching, or you could call it retreating. Flinching or retreating into your mind. The exact opposite of anticipated responses is flinching or retreating into your mind. Actually, it's not the exact opposite would be just thinking you're a dumbass. But basically, what's going to blow it? Flinching or retreating into your mind. Doubting yourself. So, anticipated responses are great. Having assumptions about how you're going to be treated, awesome. But there's a rule to them. You cannot flinch. If you retreat into your head, they don't work. All right? So let's say that you're talking to a girl from across the room. Have any of you guys ever been at a restaurant with your friends and you just point at a girl and you just go, like that, and had her got her to come over? Anyone ever done that? Right? When you do that, it can work great, right? And she'll start laughing because it's funny. It's meant to be light, right? It's meant to be playful and funny. You can do that, but if you retreat into your head when you do it and you start to doubt it, what happens? No go, or even creepy, right? Isn't it funny the thin line between high romance and like creepy stalkerishness, right? It's a very fine line sometimes, right? Like the same guy that like sings at the girl's window could be like the most romantic guy in the world that every girl like hears about and goes, oh, right? He can also be the creepiest, scariest man ever, right? So, okay, it's a fine line between, you know, romance and stalkerishness. And you've got to know that line. It's a very subtle line. So, you know, you call her over. If you retreat into your head, no go. Have you guys ever had it where you do it and she totally wants to come over, but she's with her friends and they're going to judge her and she can't come over and she gets befuddled?
Yeah.
You guys ever had that? And she starts going like this. She's like, I can't, right? And you just go, right, like that, okay? And then maybe she ditches and maybe she doesn't, all right? But it's funny to watch that, and it's funny. Do you remember I spoke about how you are like an island, and the girl is like the boat checking out the different islands? Well, see, she's in the reality of her group, right? That's the reality that she's in. Like, I'm in this group now. That's the reality that I'm operating through. And then if you're over here, and you've got this reality, which it's cool and it's normal, permissible, cool behavior for you to come over here and have fun. If your reality outweighs the group's reality, then she gets pulled over. If not, then no. Okay? Okay, so here's how we're going to sort of end this off. This knowledge can both help you and totally screw you up. Think about that. This knowledge can help you because it allows you to do all sorts of things, to recognize phenomenons, and allow you to do all sorts of things that you couldn't previously do. But if you're going through life in general, thinking, do I have the stronger reality? Do they have the stronger reality? Am I flinching? Am I in my head? Am I in my head right now? Did I just retreat into my mind? Oh yeah, because if I asked that, then I did. Oops. All right, okay? So that's not going to help you. So again, we talk about how we can look at it on a large scope or we can look at it, you know, much simpler. So the much simpler one is have fun. All right? Have fun. I'm going to teach you guys after this different ways to put yourself in a state so that you're not thinking about this stuff. This is the best way that I could put it to you. When you're in the science lab, be a scientist. When you're out, be a person. You know what I'm saying? It's totally fine and dandy for us to come here and to speak about this stuff and really look at it and really engage ourselves in it and really understand it. It's enjoyable. It's teaching us both about human nature, which is awesome. It's teaching us about our own habits and when we get drawn into other people's realities. And it's teaching us about social dynamics. But if we're thinking about this, it's one thing to understand it and to go with the flow. But if we're thinking about it when we're out, that is only going to go against us. And isn't that ironic? Isn't there a funny irony there that in working to understand social dynamics more subtly, you could actually become less socially savvy, less socially skilled, right? You could lose that coolness about you, that grace, right? You lose that stuff when you're focused on it too much, okay? So it's one thing to come in here and speak about it, but you also have to be able to disconnect yourself from it when you go out. That's really what it's going to come down to, okay? And more than anything, and I think that when it comes to imposing your beliefs, you know, imposing your reality around you and having anticipated responses, I think the thing that makes it stronger than anything else is the idea of offering value. All right? And what that means. And let me explain that. A lot of guys carry an insane amount of guilt about sex. They think that sex is about being playerish. They think that girls don't enjoy sex. They think that they think that they're getting more out of sex than the girl is. They don't view it as offering value. All right? Some guys have a concept of sex that, like, you know, the girl just lies on her back and says, "I will think of the queen. Get it over with." Right? Let's do it for God or something. You know what I'm saying? Right? You guys know that, is that the Victorian era? Right? You know what I'm talking about? That's what they'd say, right? Because you're not supposed to take pleasure in sex. You know? But then the girl's like, well, we have to have children. She's like, just get it over with. I'll think of the queen. Like that, right? I'll maintain my virtue. And a lot of guys are coming from that like sort of like Victorian era frame of reference about sex. Is that the Victorian era? Yeah. I've been out of college for a while. I knew once. So really, if you don't believe that women enjoy sex as much as men do, if not more, then when you're calling that girl over, you're saying, come over. you're going to feel like you're taking value. You're going to feel like you're trying to trick her into something. And this is where the idea of sort of like lying versus having integrity comes in. And it's an interesting debate, and I kind of want to end it off on there. On one level, spinning, in some ways you could even call it like a seduction or like an experience for a girl, right? Like when you're really spinning an experience for a girl, you're making an experience for her. And you don't necessarily have to like get all logical about everything, you know what I'm saying, right? But on the other hand, having a high level of integrity as a person and knowing that you always offer value to the people that you interact with is going to allow you to come across so much stronger. All right? And this really cannot be understated. I cannot understate this. The problem with being, I don't want to say selfish in a bad way, all right? Because being selfish and looking out for yourself is a good thing, all right? Caring about yourself and respecting yourself, that's a good thing. But being selfish at the expense of others, like taking value from other people, not structuring yourself as a human being that offers value to everybody, and becoming from a scarcity mindset, when you're calling that girl over, there's little unconscious little mechanisms that are going on in your mind that are saying, I don't have integrity and I'm trying to pull something off. And that's going to make your game a hell of a lot weaker. So on the first day, you guys remember we talked about, women, and then a lot of guys think men are down here. They believe that, right? And they're constantly trying to create that change of power so that they're up here. If you don't believe that men and women are equal in value, and you don't believe yourself as being equal in value right from the get-go inherently, then when you're calling that girl over, you will be, even on the most subtle level, flinching into your head, feeling like you're trying to pull it off. And that's why, do you guys remember yesterday I said I don't like the word close? And the reason why is because even though it's a funny word, and I see it I was watching Entourage yesterday, it's a show that I love, and they use that word, so I was kind of using it. But the reason I don't like the word close is because what does the word close imply?
Sale.
A sale, right? The word close implies a sale. And so, if you're coming from a mindset that you're selling yourself to the girl, and that you're coming from a position of lower value, you are going to retreat into your mind more often. And so that's why, as silly as this sounds, okay, as utterly ridiculous and nonsensical as this sounds, have you guys ever heard the expression being pure of heart? You guys ever heard that?
Yeah.
Okay? It sounds cheesy, but my belief is like the closer that you can get to your integrity, the bigger the payoff. I really believe that when you get closer to your integrity, like when you stop wanting to take value from people, and you can learn that when you interact with people, you are offering them value. B, that sex is as valuable to the woman as it is to you. And, even beyond all that, that just you're someone who just goes with the flow of nature. You're a part of the greater whole, and you're not trying to build yourself up into from a nasty little bridge stroll into some kind of super titan or something like that. And when you're just coming from that really every year that goes by of your life, when you can come closer and closer to that kind of value-giving mindset, the stronger that you're going to be in the field. Because that's when you're you go to open the girl and you're like, hey, right? And you fully believe that you are offering value. You have that really, really high level of integrity about you. And as a result, you're just so much stronger with women. Okay? And, it's natural to get into kind of messing around and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that you necessarily have to be truthful about everything all the time, or that you need to feel guilty about it, because look, a pickup is a pickup, right? I mean, the girl's saying all sorts of nonsense, you're saying all sorts of nonsense. I tell girls I'm a male stripper all the time. Okay? All the time. Because I think it's funny, right? I'm joking around. And it's just so funny to see the look on their face, because they actually think about it. They're like, really? Right? And they look, right? And they think about it, okay? And I love it. It's so self-amusing to me. I laugh so hard when I do it. It just tickles me to do this, right? And so I'm not necessarily saying that, when you're flirting with the girl, you're like a kid, right? And you're playing around, and you're messing with her, and she's messing with you. Not always, but a lot of the time. And that's cool. That's flirtation, all right? That's totally cool. 100% cool. But when you're trying to say something that is moving you away from who you really feel you are, and moving you away from your integrity, that's what's going to be pulling you into your head and getting all that noise going in your head. So if you want to shut off that noise, right? You want to shut off the noise and just feel good. You guys remember I said slow down? Okay? take a deep breath, just slow down and feel good, then really, that is where your integrity comes from, and that's what allows you to, part the Red Seas or pull the girl over, ask for the phone number with that total belief in what you're doing, not the slightest flinching, not the slightest retreating into your mind, and with a really incredible amount of power. All right, so fully believe in yourself. Doesn't that sound great in theory? I just have to fully believe in myself. But I don't. How are you going to get that? All right. Well, there's a process that you go through. All right. Look, what we call this. You remember the word that I said yesterday, trust? Well, the same goes for this. Trusting in a foreign set of bearings. All right. I'll say that again. Say that. Okay. I'll get you to say that with me, guys. First I'll say it, then you say it. Trust in a foreign set of bearings. I'll say it again. Trust in a foreign set of bearings.
Trust in a foreign set of bearings.
Good. All right. See, what happens here is that when we learn new bearings, we have not developed the reference experiences yet that we could trust in them. All right. So let's think about how we get our bearings in the first place. Where do we first even get our bearings? All right. Well, look, back when you're a kid, you learn to walk, right? And although what you are being called upon to do is probably a lot harder than anything you're being called upon to do now, you do persevere, don't you?
Right.
See? But now you're a smart guy, right? Like back then, you get up, you kind of walk along a little bit, and boom, hit your head on the table, fall on the ground. Get up again, walk along, maybe hit the wall. Boom, you fall down again. You get back up. But now you're smart, right? Now you're a smart guy, and you're not just conscious like when you're a kid, you're now self-conscious, right? You've got a self-image to protect, right? Now, when we do the metaphorical equivalent of that, and we bonk into the wall, what do we say to ourselves in life?
I can't do this.
Oh, I can't do it, I suck, I can't let other people see me doing this. Oh my God, imagine if you're a baby and you try to learn how to walk like that. Imagine if a baby had these kind of mental crises. No one, we'd all be crawling around.
Yeah.
So, as a kid, you learn how to walk. You're being called upon to do much more than you are now, but somehow you find a way to persevere. What's going on there? All right. First of all, you're learning the ins and outs. You're learning the ins and outs of how the new behavior works. Second of all, you're gathering evidence. Okay? You're gathering evidence. You're looking at what other people are doing, and you're experimenting. All right? You walk too far forward, you fall. You lean too far backwards, you fall. You stay centered, and you move along. Eventually, you don't just hypothesize how to walk, do you? Do you guys have to think about moving one foot in front of the other as you walk down here? No, because you have now fully trusted in the bearings. All right? So your mind has gone through the motions, and now you have what's called an anticipated response. You have assumptions. Okay? And that is what internalization is called. Who here has ever heard the expression internalization? All right, good. Well, what internalization is the process of trial and error that you have to go through to create an assumption that you never have to think about ever again. All right, so for something to be internalized, it means the following things. First of all, you do it naturally. Second of all, you're in the moment when you do it because it doesn't require any thought. And third of all, you never have to think about it ever again. All right? So at this point, it's probably occurred to you that learning to be good with women is an identical process, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're a kid again. You have new bearings that you have to internalize. You have to learn that it's okay to approach strangers. It's not a bomb. You're not going to go tap, tap, and your hand's going to blow off. All right? Okay? You have to learn that it's cool to ask for a phone number. You have to learn that, wow, people are actually friendly. When you approach strangers, they're friendly. All right? These are new bearings that you have to internalize. Now look, as I'm walking around through here, I'm not like, all right? How about when you sit on a chair, If you're right here and you want to sit down, you just go right there. Am I like, okay, I have to make this work. Total belief, like in the seminar, total belief. Like that? I'm not thinking like that, am I? All right? So look, think about the best race car driver. The best race car driver, he knows the ins and outs of the car. So when he's going around the corner, he can pull it, right? They call that full throttle?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? All right? He can go full throttle. He can hit, he can push the car hard. All all right? The guys that are really great with women, they might be in the nightclub or wherever they are, and they can push the car hard, all right? They can push the limit. They've made all those distinctions. The bearings are no longer foreign anymore, all right? It's their own, they have now internalized these new bearings. Most guys going out, if you're new, or even intermediate, or even trying the things you learned about in the seminar, you're having to trust in a foreign set of bearings. Okay? You're like, he says that I can do this. All right, I got to go and try and do it. And you're trying to gather evidence to make it work. To understand it, all right? So, something as simple as leading. Even as simple as that. When you start leading the interaction, like getting used to being a social leader, you have to learn the ins and outs of it. All right? And it might be embarrassing, because you're trying to lead the interaction, you wind up making a jackass out of yourself. That stuff happens. But again, you can't be self-conscious. You have to learn the ins and outs of it. All right, so what are we taught not to do? Are we taught to talk to strangers in life?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, good try, okay. Are we taught to risk bothering people that we don't know?
No.
Okay, so there's a couple bearings that you might have right now. All right. Now, you don't necessarily know that this stuff can't be done. If you haven't approached lots of strangers, if you haven't taken that risk, you don't necessarily know it. That's called secondhand knowledge. All right. You've gathered your reality from a secondhand source. All right. So in the same way that you don't know what will happen if you jump out of an airplane, you just assumed it based on secondhand knowledge. You don't know that you can't be a big pimp because you never tried. All right? Unless you really tried, you don't know. But because most social conditioning says that you can't, you don't try. All right? So now we get to what's called the newbie's paradox. All right, who here has ever put on contact lenses? Contacts? Who has them? All right. Can anyone here describe what it's like initially putting on a new set of contacts? Painful, burns, right? How does it feel touching your eyeball with your finger?
Strange.
It's weird, huh? Does your eye want to automatically close itself?
Yes.
Has these little, what do we call that? Flinching.
Yeah.
Right? It's a flinching. So your eye wants to close itself. Now, what's great about this though, if you keep doing it every day and taking it in and out of your eye, your mind eventually says, hey, look at this, man. You can put in the contact lens. Nothing's going to happen. So that's interesting. Like you can gather the reference experiences to no longer feel that flinchingness when you want to do it. Well, how about a newbie who's learning to approach strangers and learning to approach women? When he goes up and he approaches women, if he's not confident in himself and he doesn't have belief, what kind of evidence is he going to get? Positive or negative?
Negative.
Right? So for a newbie, if you want to compare putting in a contact lens to approaching girls, this is like putting in a contact lens and when you touch it the first time, your eye explodes like the Death Star. Okay? That's really what it's like. Because when you're a newbie, you're like, okay, they said in the program it's okay to approach. So you're like, all right, I'll go and approach, right? And then, right? And of course, if a newbie's sense of self, if his sense of identity is not that strong yet, right? If you're don't have a strong sense of what you value and who you are, that girl blowing you off, your state's like that, right? I don't want to do this anymore. This stuff is stupid. So that's what's going on. That is the newbie's paradox. The paradox is this. In order to get that unwavering belief, you need reference experiences to believe it. But you can't get the reference experiences without the unwavering belief a lot of the time. I mean, you can get some, but you're not going to get those incredible reference experiences that you want. That's the newbie's paradox. It's hard to break out of the newbie's paradox because the more the newbie goes out and gets blown out, what's that?
Boot camp.
Yeah, but you can't break out of it. It's really, really difficult. So look. To have unwavering belief, you have to get to a point where, number one, you fully assume that what you're going to do is going to work. And number two, here's the second criteria, you have to be totally indifferent to the odd times that it doesn't. All right? So number one, you have to fully assume it works. Number two, you have to be indifferent if it doesn't work. That is the only way that you're going to approach women thoughtlessly without flinching. It's totally natural, congruent, and smooth. It cannot be like the little engine that could. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. You just understand it. All right? That's what it means when it's internalized, like when you sit on a chair, when you're walking. So you're relaxed about it. There's definitely no sense of self or no pride tied into it. It's just a funny thing that you can do, and you know that anybody else could figure it out if they were to try. Okay? So what that means is this. When you start to get good with women, you can't make this identity out of it. Like, look at all this cool stuff that I can do that other people can't do. I'm so cool. All right? You can't be coming from that perspective. It's got to be like, yeah, it's this little cool thing that I can do. Other people could learn it too. You don't make it into like some kind of a big deal. All right? When you're talking to somebody, you shouldn't have this false sense of superiority just because you know how to approach women. It's just a cool little thing that you know how to do. If they were to wanted to learn how to do it, they could do it. If not, fine. That's called the it's no big deal type of attitude. Because when you make it a big deal, you're constantly trying to reinforce it. What you need to be on is almost like a level where, you know how if you ask a natural about this stuff, they think it's funny? Have you ever noticed that when you talk to a natural about this stuff, it kind of messes with their heads? Yeah. All right, let me ask you this. Look, imagine if I go up to you and I start saying, so you could really like drink water? Right? Look, just try to, because I'm just having a hard time grasping this. You could really drink water, for real. Like you can just take it and like you just pour it down your throat and you drink. Oh my God, right? That was amazing. That was amazing. All right? Okay? And so when I'm doing that, in some subtle way, obviously you know you can drink water, but in some subtle way, it's almost making you think like, yeah, right? Like, I think, right? You know, it's like maybe I can. No, I can. I know I can, right? When they're being doubted. That's why naturals, a lot of the time, not always, but a lot of the time when you talk to them about it, they're like, what is this guy? Right? What is he talking about? And it can almost seem irritated because you're messing with their reality. Okay? It's starting to make you self-doubt. So you want to be on a level where it's fully internalized. Let's compare it to walking through walls. Great comparison here. All right, so look. Say that I believe that I can walk through this nice little paper pad here. All right? I'm going to walk through the giant paper pad, which we could just imagine as being a wall. Could you make yourself, just by telling yourself over and over that it'll work, walk up to this and just boom, and just plow it over with like full belief? How about like a concrete wall?
No.
Like you know when you walk into a patio door, how much that hurts?
Yeah.
Because you walked into it hard, right? Like you fully walked into it. You didn't like slow down a bit. So it hits, like there's a lot of momentum. Well, in a lot of ways, telling a newbie that he can go approach a woman is like telling him that he can walk through a wall. There's always that little bit, as he's approaching, that little bit of flinch, that little bit of self-protection. What I call that is dipping your little toesies in the pond to see if it's warm. All right? It's like this. It's like, ooh, is it warm? Ooh. All right, like that. It's an inability to really put your personality on the line. And we call these ego defense mechanisms. What an ego defense mechanism is where you're talking to the girl and your unconscious mind will make you flinch so that you can tell yourself, she didn't reject the real me, she rejected the flinching me. You ever been talking to a girl and you start going like this as you're talking, you're like that? Ever done that? Right? Well, she rejects you. Did she reject the real you? No, she rejected the wobbling you. Right? So it wasn't the real you. It is not going to affect your state on the same level. And so that's that flinch. Most guys are not able to just walk up to a girl, hey, who are you, right? They don't have that level of smoothness. But it's when you get that level of smoothness that you become congruent, you become smooth, you become sleek. Like, you know, it's just like that nice, you can tell a guy he's got just really nice skills with women. He's just got that smoothness about him, that congruence about him. There's no flinching taking place. It's not a belief system anymore, it's an understanding. It's not, I believe that if I approach, I'll get a great response. It's just an understanding. I understand that people are not, I understand that the floor will hold me up. I understand that people are nice and I can talk to them. I just understand it now. It's not this big deal. It's not like, look what I can do, all right? I understand. Oh, I'm going to talk to them. I just understand it. You don't even think about it. That's what total belief means. Newbie's paradox makes it very, very hard to achieve. Let's say you want to scramble yourself. Let's say that you want to sort of scramble yourself out of newbie's paradox. You want to get out of it. This is one of the biggest, for me, this has been one of the biggest epiphanies that I've learned to get myself into state, to get that nimbus burning in a raging inferno very, very quickly. And that is this. The halfway point between fear and total belief? You want to know what it is?
Yeah.
Action.
Indifference. You got it. Indifference. The halfway point between total belief and being a chode is indifference. So is it a good idea to try to cultivate total belief? Can you do that? Can you try to deliberately go out and try and cultivate total belief? Like, I'm going to go out tonight and try and cultivate total belief, even though I'm going to get blown out a whole bunch of times as a newbie, and the only belief that I'm going to learn is that I suck because of my reference experiences, but I'm going to try to cultivate total belief. You can't really do that, guys. All right? As a newbie, you can't really go out and try to cultivate total belief because you're trying to gather what? Reference experiences. Does everyone here know what reference experiences are?
Yes. Yes.
Reference experience, like, when you're a kid, you're trying to walk, you're trying to see that the floor will hold, you're trying to see that if you move forward, this will happen, if you move backwards, this will happen. You're gathering what is called reference experience. You're gathering evidence. All right? That's why newbies are always out there desperate to gather evidence of their newfound identity. Right? Like, I want to feel like this cool guy. And then you need to keep getting evidence to prove that you're that cool guy. So, you cannot get evidence that all people will respond well to you if you don't totally believe it. You're not going to get evidence of that. All that you're going to get as a newbie is evidence that you suck, typically. That's the evidence that you're going to get. And I got a lot of that evidence for a long time. All right? So, when you're starting out, there's no possibility of gathering evidence or reference experiences that you're great, that you're this big pimp. But you can gather reference experiences that it doesn't matter what people think of you. You can gather evidence of that. All right? So by going out night after night, getting shot down, getting hammered, getting humiliated, getting embarrassed, you can gather a lot of evidence of one thing. It really doesn't matter what anybody thinks of you. That is what you could learn. So you're going out, you're learning it doesn't matter what anybody thinks of you. And you go through these motions, you go through it, and eventually you cross something that's beautiful. And that something is what I call the indifference threshold. All right? There is that nice, we call it the harmonious ting of true indifference, all right? True indifference, okay, true letting go of the outcome is a harmonious ting that somebody has when they have let go of the outcome and they're not reaching in their interactions anymore. Okay, it's like a loss of neediness. And when you can let go, all right, when you can let go of that need for outcome, suddenly what happens is the girls start being nicer. You may not be on a level where you can pull them out of there and it's like all pimp, but they start to really open up. And so what you can essentially do is bombard your mind. All right? Because what is this system put in place to do? The system, which is so that, okay, stop and really think about how this system is designed to screw you over. Okay? Really think about this. Women respond to guys that are confident. Why? Why do they respond to guys that are confident, guys? Okay, sucks them in the reality. Okay, what else, guys? High value, right? If you're confident, is it the confidence that attracts you? It's what it communicates. Okay? The confidence communicates that you're probably successful with other women. That's really what it's and it is communicating resourcefulness, other things. But confidence is communicating that you're successful with other women. All right? So, the system is designed, like the woman's evolutionary system is designed not to feel attracted to you if you're not confident. Right? It's designed to do that. So if you're not successful with women, the system is put there to prevent you, some little slug, right, when you're starting out, if you're chode, from getting girls. Because it's to prevent the population from being overrun with chode babies. All right? You know? We're getting this is very black and white thinking, right? Extreme sweeping generalizations. But, I'm just being silly. But the system is put there so that you can't be successful. The system is put there so that you cannot get confident unless you really, have what the women want, right? And have that, survival reproduction value. So what you can do is you have to scramble the system. All right? You have to scramble your own brain. Essentially, what you have to do is pummel your brain with so many references, so much experience that the whole system just goes. All right? That's what's got to take place. So as a newbie, when you go out and you just go approach, right? And you're just getting blown out and you're like, oh, I'm going to stop. And you go, no, keep going. Right? That's what a boot camp is, right? Keep going. All right? And you keep going. Boom, boom. And then eventually your mind goes, you know what? it doesn't matter what anyone thinks of me. Look, I'm still here. I'm okay.
Suspend your disbelief.
I'm fine. And then you cross what is called the indifference threshold. And that's when things change. Because now you're indifferent. And now the groups do open. All right? And now I want you to think of it like this. Think of your mind. We said it is always pinging. Your mind's always pinging for evidence. So if this is you, it's always doing this. All right? It's doing that. And it's looking for normal and permissible behavior. That's what it's looking for. So when you start to go out, initially you're afraid that if you go and approach, that is not normal and permissible behavior, and you could get pounded. You could get beat up, you could get your ass kicked, whatever, you get the giant rock thrown at your head, and you're gone. You're done. All right? But then, when you do it, and then your mind is pinging, right? It's going ping, 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 ping. You're doing that, and then your mind goes, look, this is normal and permissible behavior. That's what's going on there. Okay, boom. I can do this now. So what happens is, you go from being what's called stifled to unstifled. And this is a realization. This here, what I'm going to explain to you guys, was the realization that allowed me to get from like a fairly consistent level to a almost like close to 100% consistent good nights level. This is the realization, and this is, we're deep into day 4 here. This is part of what we've been building up to. The indifference threshold is something that can be crossed very quickly, extremely quickly, but you have to recognize it in yourself. So do you remember when I brought up, what's your name?
Scott.
Okay, remember when I brought Scott up here, right? And I got him to yell. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you notice that at first he couldn't yell, and then eventually, when people are cheering and clapping, suddenly he can yell? That's called stifling. Okay? Think of stifling like a cup. It's like this. Okay, here's you, and here's the cup, and it's holding you in. All right? What it's saying is, don't extend your behavior beyond a certain range. It's saying, look, here's what it's telling you, stifling. It's saying, if this is your range, don't let your voice be heard past this range. Don't take up, when you're in an elevator and you're taking up space, it says don't take up space beyond XYZ range, whatever it determines. It says don't go approach people, don't go interrupting people, taking up their time and space. Don't do that. All right? It's doing that to you. It's called stifling. So for years and years, I've been doing this voice exercise that we did yesterday, all right, where we yell. And you can see it's like magic how you can take a guy who has a totally screwed up voice, he's totally stifled, and then you can unlock him, all right? You unlock him by getting him unstifled. Do you want to know what I never knew? I never saw this coming. I myself get stifled. I thought that I didn't get that anymore. I thought that I didn't have an issue with that. Do you want to know why stifling happens? It happens because as you change environments, you're not totally certain of what that environment is. Your unconscious mind stifles you in. And so what happens is your voice is not totally unlocked. All right? Your voice goes down. It says, this isn't it. So what you quickly have to do, okay, imagine like a Dragon Ball Z character or something, right? And it's like that, and you kind of expand out, and then you show that you can expand out. It's called unstifling yourself. All right? And what I did was actually, as for a couple months, took up the practice of unstifling myself once every 5 minutes. And it was incredible what happened. So look, okay, say you get in the nightclub, all right? You get in there. Who here finds that they get stifled a lot, if you want to use yourself as an example? Do you get stifled a lot, Dan?
It happens time to time.
Because I need someone who you can tell that they're stifled when they yell. Okay? Who here? I don't think you get stifled at all. Okay. All right. Okay. Who here gets stifled? Probably, that's a really dumb question, because if someone's stifled, they're not going to put their hand up. All right. Okay. Do you get stifled?
Me?
Sure. You don't sound that stifled right now. I want to teach you guys what stifling sounds like. Do you get stifled?
Not right now, no.
Okay, wait. I'm looking for someone. Do you get stifled?
No.
He's a little bit slightly. We're looking for someone. You know why? Do you know what's happening here? Let me guys tell you a secret. Whenever I do the stifling exercise, it's actually a gamble every time that I do it. You want to know why? Why? Because when I bring the guy up here and I say yell, if I pick the wrong guy, I've been doing this exercise for years, right? And I'm trying to make my point. So we were lucky because we had a great example yesterday, right? And everybody else probably would have been stifled as well if they would have been called up. But what happens is, if I call you up and I say, here, yell, and then this guy yells, and he's unstifled and I still want to show the example, when I call up the next guy who would normally be stifled, he's not stifled anymore. Do you guys see why? Because he goes, look, it's okay to yell in here. Yeah, we're okay to yell in here. And then my whole demonstration is blown as a teacher, right? It sucks, okay? So that's why I'm always like, gotta pick. And like, even when I go to teach this, I'm like looking through, like, who's Mr. Stifled here? And sometimes I can find great examples. So look, maybe we'll see if we can find someone, because I really want to get you guys super in touch with this. Okay? Are you stifled?
No.
No? Okay, yell for me.
Ah!
No, he's not stifled. Try yelling.
Yeah!
Nah, fuck. All right. This room has become unstifled. All right. Okay? All right. Any stifled cases here? How about you? Yell. Yeah. Woo! Yell louder. Woo! Okay? How about you?
Yeah!
How about you?
Yeah!
How about you?
Ah!
Okay, get up here. All right. Okay, good stuff. All right. Okay. So we'll see. Okay. So hop up. Okay. All right. Okay. So yell. Okay. Well, he probably will get unstifled now because you all clap for him. But anyway, go ahead. Try yell.
Ah!
All right. Does it sound better than before?
Yeah.
Okay. So can you? Okay. Look. What if we? Okay. Let's think of something maybe like an. Okay. Sing Happy Birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Okay. Come on. Give it everything.
Happy birthday to you.
Okay. Now stop. Okay. Now I'm going to sing it with you, and then I'm going to get you to keep going after. Okay. Okay. From the start. Okay. Ready? Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ranger Guy. Happy birthday to you. All right. Okay. So we call that being unstifled. Okay. So what happens there? Okay. Now sing it again. Quiet. Everyone will go quiet. We're judging you. Okay? If this isn't good as last time, that means you're not as cool. All right? Okay? No, don't even laugh. He will be rejected and ostracized. Okay? No. What are you laughing for, dude? Okay? You better do this good. If you don't, okay? I've got a rock back there. Okay? No, don't laugh at this. Okay? Do it good. Okay, go ahead.
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me.
Can you guys see the dip? Can you guys see the dip? Can you see when he's out of his head and then goes into his head? Yeah. Okay? You can see like he's doing really well, by the way, is he not? Yeah. Would you guys want to? Okay. Would you guys want to be up here having to do that shit, right? You know? Okay. So right. So so as an example, and then you guys could of course see it back there, right? You can detect the stifling. Okay. Give him a hand, guys. Okay. Give him a hand. Okay. Go ahead. All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thanks. Thank you. So, all right. Look, what I want you guys to be able to do is start to detect that stifling. Okay. And so what I started to do when I went out is we started as a test, we started a every 5-minute stifling check, me and my buddy Oljai, right? So we'd be out in Honolulu, and out of nowhere, we would just start to sing. And I was very, very surprised to notice that a lot of the times when I thought I was totally unstifled, I'd be like, happy, and then I'm like, motherfucker, I'm stifled, right? I don't feel stifled, but it's very, very subtle. It's a subtle thing. And a lot of you guys have had those nights where you do amazingly well and had nights where you thought that you're doing the exact same thing but you didn't do as well. And a lot of that comes down to that whole stifling, all right? It comes down to the stifling. Because what's happening to you is look, say that you're very into like a natural style, right? You're into a really natural style, you start to learn it. Maybe one night you feel really unstifled, so you go, hey, who are you? Or, hey, my name's Owen. Whatever it is that you like to do. And it works amazing. Then on other nights, you're like, hey, my name's Owen. And it's like, hey, my name's Owen. Right? It's like, there's just not that richness. The richness isn't in the voice. That richness is what she's responding to. That unstifledness, both in your body language, voice, your verbal expression, it's that unstifledness. So what I realized was that, number one, whenever I'm out on my own, anytime I'm out on my own, I don't say to myself, I need to be confident right now. I just say, I need to cross the indifference threshold as quickly as possible. All right? So don't try to be confident in life. Just try to be indifferent. Confidence will then flow from that point. Okay? Allow yourself to fail. Allow yourself to be indifferent to the outcome. Now, this is an amazing thing, what happens to an individual when they consistently start to cross the indifference threshold. Because as you go out, and you start to cross that indifference threshold when you're going out a lot, what happens is eventually you do get some new reference experiences, and they feel good. And eventually what can start to happen is as you do this more and more, you start to realize that this new identity that you have is better. Do you guys remember how I said, like, if you're talking to your girlfriend and you compliment her on something, she'll want to live up to that identity? You guys remember that? Mm-hmm. Do you guys remember how yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, I can't remember at this point, we talked about how early in life, say that you show creativity or show leadership and people give you props for it, you recognize that that's a better identity to have. Have you guys ever seen a goth kid? Do you guys remember the goth kids in school? Maybe you were one of them, who